chapter clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic. Hey, good day, everyone, and welcome to College Volleyball Weekly Beach Top 20, episode 261. We recap week three's action on screen with me from Texas, Kylie Weekly, and from the University of Hawaii, the Beach Bros, that'd be Sydney Miller. Good day, ladies. Always great having you on.
Week, it's Tuesday.
I know it's a Tuesday. Oh, you let the secret out when we record, but that's all right. That's we're good.
Oh
But
my God,
there
it was
was
secret.
well, I mean, if you think about it, you're already like 1/3 way in with the beach season. So, why not? Um, but you know what? I was going to say we'll talk about some of the top things we saw this week, but some of the upsets, there were about three, I'd call them. Number 20 Stetson actually had two of those upsets, defeating at the time, because the AVCA poll came out within the last hour and I didn't update. At the time was number 14 FIU and number 19 North Florida. So that was an unexpected result. And I honestly don't know a whole bunch about the teams that were competing, because FIU has got a pretty new roster and North Florida is rolling in the top 20 this year. So, but Stetson has always been an ASUN conference top dog, and they're getting it done with those two teams. And he also beat the South Carolina Gamecocks, and they were receiving votes in the top 20. So three quality wins for Stetson. Well, they've always been the powerhouse in that conference, and Christy Hernandez, she's gonna murder me for butchering her name if I got it wrong, but I've spoken to her a bunch of times and met her a couple times as well, and she's always got a good group of girls, always coaches them up, because especially in that area, there's a lot of talent. So a big pool to choose from, but you got to find the right ones to make your program click. One of the other big upsets was North Florida again in the mix, but they ended up knocking off FIU. Didn't get the score on there, but it seemed like that first day of that tournament, North Florida FIU was getting knocked off. They're 0-2 to start off that tournament. So curious to see what happens in that conference once it gets going for this year. But the other upset I wanted to jump to was the number 9 Cal taking down number 3 at the time USC. But a pretty phenomenal win for the Golden Bears. Thoughts on Cal and the way to kick off day one of the MPSF Rumble? Any of you want to jump in?
I'll start. I think that, yes, I was surprised, but I also think that everyone was expecting upsets from that tournament. And I think Cal is always a solid team. And I think they have a lot of returners that are very experienced and can just get it done. And like Portia and Emma have been together for a while now this season, and I think that they trust each other a lot and they understand each other a lot and they really show each other's strengths. So they're a very hard team to beat. So falling it on the ones court, I bet the Cal Bears were happy.
Kylie, thoughts on the number 9 Cal taking down
Yeah,
number
I
3
mean, they
USC?
have a pretty solid lineup going for them. Ella dribbles, she just like broke the win record there and she's on their 5. So that's like another solid 5 team. Like we keep talking about threes, fours,
What?
fives are your big wins. But yeah, I feel like they're like a really hungry team because a lot of them are like sophomores, juniors. They don't have like a bunch of I mean, they have a few seniors, but they have people who like wanted a lot. And so I don't think it was like I was like, wow, that's crazy, but not like totally shocked, I'd say.
Well, the Golden Bears, I guess they're called the Beach Bears. I better get that right, or else I'm gonna get some hate mail again. But
Bears.
they have got a pretty experienced roster with Christine DeRoos, the transfer from Long Beach State, that's in there. Obviously, you got Emma Donnelly and Portia Sherman, and let's be real, you can't teach height to your blockers. And Emma Donnelly definitely has the highlight of the week
Oh
for me.
my
I don't know if you
God.
saw what I posted this week that was at the Rumble, but and God bless Katie Keefe of Grand Canyon. She had a great, way to approach it once the video because she basically got posterized. But um, good ball off defense in transition, set to the outside. Emma Donnelly goes up, left hand only, and clamps her straight down. And it was nasty. But I think watching Portia's celebration after the clamp was pretty classic too. But Katie on the comments said, "Yeah, that was nasty." So good sport about it.
Yeah, you got to be a good sport. If you get stuff like that, you just got to accept it and make a joke out of it because there's no better solution.
Well, the way that whole duel went down, uh, I believe that Cal was down 0-2 and came back, and so hopefully Mary Lou Pally will be one of the contributors. We're trying to work out the schedule still here. Her and Alex, her partner, tied it up at 2-2, and it came down to the ones with Emma Donnelly and Portia Sherman. And they ended up taking down Zoe Henson and Maddie White, who were solid in the fall together, 21-15, 21-18. So um, outlasting. Just we know that they beat a really good USC team. Interestingly enough, this year when USC has lost, they've all been 3-2 losses. So, and they've been at neutral locations. So I'm sure they're waiting to either get it home or just be away on the road. We had the poll, as I mentioned, come out, and there were pretty much no changes with exception. SC drops to 4. Oh, we'll get to
We
you,
had an
Kylie.
upset too.
Okay,
We were 13 and we beat number 12, so we got to
Oh, there
move
we
up
go. Go ahead and talk
too.
about it there. I didn't get that far back, Kylie. What was your result?
We beat FAU 3-2.
And that was a big win for the program. So
First ranked win.
that's right. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed out on the social because now who are the big what was it did it get down to the second flight or was it decided pretty quickly?
No, it was like down to the wire. I think it was a third set with our twos. They pulled
That
through.
was the TCU Invitational that this was happening at.
Yes.
So interestingly enough, the pair of the week were, I'm gonna butcher her name, but Ashley Adams and
Marquetta.
oh, she's killing it too. Let me just rattle my brain here. One of the Czech girls, Ashley
Svojilova.
Adams. What was the name again?
Marketa Svojilova.
Marketa Svozilova. There we go. I wanted to say Julie Hanzavachova, but
I was
she's
saying
actually at the
that 10 times
class.
quick.
But they were the players of the week last week in the CCSA and the ABCA. So it's a good quality win for Texas, for Stein and Kylie and the rest of the girls. So, but with that, there was some shifting, and I apologize for the last minute. I actually, before we jumped on recording, I just saw the post. So Texas moves up to 12. Hawaii, sorry, Sydney, back to 18, but still top
No.
20. FAU drops back to 13. Arizona State moves up one uh, after their wins at the Sun Devil Classic. Texas A&M Corpus Christi 4-1 and Coastal Carolina 5-0, but they lost to Cal Poly 4-1. LSU drops back one. Still waiting to see because if you look at the record, LSU is 13-1 and they've got a 12 match winning streak, but they drop back to a number 11. So interesting there. Curious if you guys have any thoughts on why the LSU drop back, even though they didn't really lose last week and they've got quality wins. At the ULM Bayou Bash, and they played SFA twice, ULM, and yeah, just the three.
They faced Florida State the first week, but other than that, I mean, that's like their rival. So I feel like those wins sometimes people kind of count off when it's against the rival, but I think maybe because of that, that's why they haven't. When a lot of the other teams have faced other ranked teams or in the top 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
I
Sydney, do you have
think
something to say?
I was going to say the kind of the same thing, but I think this week will be telling for them because they play LMU, UCLA, Cal, and us, I think. Yeah.
They play
So,
the mighty Sydney Millers. That's who they play.
yeah, you know it. But I think that if they do a good job over the weekend, I think they'll probably move back up. But I agree with what Kylie said. It's kind of hard to stay in your spot or move up if you're playing teams that are maybe not as highly ranked.
Yeah. Yep. Cal moves up 2-7, obviously with the upset of USC and defeating Grand Canyon 3-2, but took the 2-3 losses of both Stanford and UCLA. So got to keep an eye on those Beach Bears. Mary Lou and Alex, Emma and Portia and the rest of the crew there. They're doing some good things up in Northern California. Long Beach State falls back one. They hosted their own tournament at Long Beach City College. Actually, you've been there, Sydney. Quite the facilities there.
It's a nice
All
facility.
fundraised by Misty May Trainer when she was the director of volleyball at Long Beach City College. And phenomenal 5 courts, all with streaming at both ends, stadium style, and a scoreboard. So they're doing it right at the community college level at Long Beach City College. Um, with the rest, didn't change really. Cal Poly 6, Stanford 5, at TCU again moved up to 3, USC back to 4. USC's young. Could never count them out. And they're in the battle for most of them. But you guys have seen them over the years, and they continue to develop. They're a in-process team until the end because they were counted out last season.
2 years
UCLA was
ago.
2 years ago, and rose up and 4 national championships in a row. So cannot count them out. But and then of course rounding out the rest, you've got LMU at 2 and UCLA at 1. With that, I wanted to see who you felt were some of the top athletes in this last week in week 3, or teams. It's always hard to do this one because I do the men's. It's like you pick one single athlete from a team, but you feel like you have to go to a pair here. So I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to pick an athlete or a pair. So throw a couple out there.
I am gonna say this might be like a wild card, but Ava Anderson at Boise State. She was playing this weekend and she beat the FAU ones and like almost beat Daniela and Tanya this past weekend and just was like playing phenomenal. She's a blocker at the ones for Boise State.
Good call. Ava Anderson of Boise State, the Broncos. So how about you, Sydney?
This might be a lame answer because we already kind of said it, but like Portia, I literally was watching back like the game point to like win the duel. And like when it went to her, I was just like, oh, they're cooked. Like you can't just give her because she's got the best wrist, the best vision, and she can hit. So just she's amazing. I love her.
Um, I'm gonna have to go. Gosh, I was watching the ones of FAU, and that was the name I butchered, but Ashley Adams and Marketa Svozilova. Um, I happen to, because of the stream, they're playing. I think it was the number ones match against Danny and Tanya, but watching their hustle on the court, FAU FSU that I was watching, but it was
Oh,
such a
okay.
crazy match between those two. It was one of the most entertaining matches I'd seen this season so far because everyone was flying all over the place, and you couldn't tell who was winning. It was just a blow for blow. So I'm gonna pick that FAU pair, who was the pair of the week last week of Marketa Svozilova and Ashley Adams. I'm just gonna keep saying it so I got it down.
There you go.
So
Sounds like you already got it down.
anyone else we can drop on there? I'll drop another pair here because they actually had 2 duels today. They are the AVCA pair of the week this week. Maggie Boyd, Sally Perez. Before today, they were 13-1. They are now 15-1 because they hosted, I believe, Morehouse State and CUI. Quick wins for them, and they are playing really well. It's crazy seeing how good Sally is as a true freshman, but Maggie is a powerhouse. Isn't she a Texan, if I remember correctly? Maggie
I,
Boyd.
I think
So
so.
Yes.
a lot of big things come from Texas, and that big swing was brought to UCLA. So good for Maggie Boyd and Sally Perez. But they, even from the fall pairs competition, you knew something special was going on there because they were pressing a lot of teams at the get go. So the good put together for Triple J, Jenny Johnson Jordan, and the Bruins. So Kylie, anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, these next 3 weekends for us, we have that one, then we're hosting one, and then we're going to the LSU Death
Death
Volley.
Volley Invitational.
So it'll be a really fun 3 weeks for us. Playing a lot of good teams. I don't think we play
That plays with
one
my
like
bucket list. I got to go
unranked
to Death Volley.
team. Yeah.
So with that, with the different pairs, the tops in the flights right now, I've been sorting through collegebeachvb.com. Thank you guys for all the information and putting it all together. Be sure to check out College Beach VB. No, I'm not being paid by them, just in case you guys are wondering, but has the best source of information. If you need to break down, want to see what Sydney and Kylie are doing in their pairs, you can always pull up their records and where they're playing at each and every match over the last 3 or 4 years. So some great resources, but they also break it down by pairs. And in Division 1 beach volleyball, top five pair right now, knocking out the other ones that haven't had some really good matches. LMU's 10 and Rosenthal and Juliana Paletti Corrales. They're at 9-1 still. So they're rolling. But I noticed that Juliana Paletti Corrales was paired with someone else this last weekend. So I'm wondering what's happening there. If it's just a experiment, we'll see. Um, at the fours, another LMU team, Magdalena Rabish and Isabel Reffel, 10-1. And then UNF's Hayden Wooldridge, Cameron Humphreys, 10-2. And Washington showing up there, Sarah Wilcock and Emma Hohenauer, 10-3. And I don't know a whole bunch about Washington's pair, but they're getting good results. So I'm sure you guys have crossed paths with them in juniors at one point, or even played them because you're kind of upperclassmen at this point. So um, Washington, can they press the top in the MPSF?
I
Uh-oh.
mean, no, 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 no. It's good. I think they have a lot of potential. We played them this weekend, and I think a lot of us were surprised about kind of how much they pushed us. Like, I don't think that we were expecting it, and good for them. I mean, they beat us 4-1. So, I think they have resilience a lot. Like, they really just want to win every single point, and every single point to them means the most. Like, it's 24-24, and they want that point so bad for 0-0. They want number one so bad, but I think it's going to be good and they're beneficial. So I don't know. We'll see.
It's reflecting Coach Derek Olson. He's a little fiery one on the beach when he was competing, so it doesn't surprise me. Kylie, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, they have pretty tough conditions that they practice in every day. So I feel like sometimes teams like that really like know how to fight. And I feel like they want it. Like they don't just get to go like in the sunshine and like beautiful weather every day. Like they want to be there every day. So
Yeah. Yep. Bumping up to the threes. You should be familiar with this one, Kylie. Madison Parmelli, Corinne Zolnarchikova, 9-2. They were pretty impressive at the Longhorn Invitational a couple weekends ago. So it's not a surprise for me, but you've seen them trending upward since you've been firsthand training with them. But Madison or Maddie, fiery defender and strong arm.
she's fiery. She wants every point that there is. Not one point goes by and it's just like, oh, whatever. Like she wants that point.
And with Corinne, who's a very good blocker at the three spot there, they'll be getting more wins for sure. They pretty physical and good movement by Corinne, lateral movement, watching her, and she has some really good block moves too. Just I like seeing the foreign talent, which is one of the topics we'll be talking about after our we going through the pairs here. For the rest, CVW contributor Kelly Bellardi and Avery Jackson 9-2, and another LMU team. Are you recognizing a pattern here? Abby Thorpe and Lisa Luini 8-2 at the threes. And then it gets a little thinner as we get to the twos. Top pairs, UCLA's. Here we go, Perry Brennan.
There you go. I knew she was coming at some point.
She does have a partner, Natalie Muskowski. They're well, actually, they're probably 15-2 or 14-2 because they had two duels today, which I know they were undefeated. And then LMU again, Chloe Hooker, Anna Paloya, 10-2. The pattern continues. And then finally at the ones, Maggie Boyd and Sally Perez, 15-1. And then FAU, Marketa Svozilova and Ashley Adams at 11-1. And back at 13, which is kind of a shocker. Everyone had high expectations. TCU's Danny Alvarez and Tanya Moreno I believe they're 7-3 or 8-3 at this point. So, but they're going to turn it on. Not, I'm sure they're not worried. So, let's jump to our topics. Had the ladies pick a certain set of topics, and to close out our episode, it's gonna be Kylie first. We want to talk about internationals and what she thinks about the internationals now in the game. So go for it, Kylie.
I feel like as a lot of us know, the internationals are kind of taking over the game. Like LMU's got two people in the lineup that are from the US. And
Michelle Schaefer, I know,
TCU
is one of them, and Tannen Rosenthal's the other. So
TCU they had three. We might see something different this next week that were American. So I think like a big topic that people are talking about is the Europeans, which kind of started with Tina Gradina, and I feel like possibly what kind of was like maybe stopping them before was like the Olympic hopeful. And so when Tina qualified for the Olympics while still being at USC, I feel like that kind of led to the explosion of it. And I feel like every country is kind of represented here in the US
Mhm.
now from like every school. Like we talk about those ones and like UCLA has an Australian and USC's got Latvians and Canadians and we've got Dutch and Estonians and Sydney, you guys have a few too.
Oh, Guam, Australia, we have so many. Like half our team is international. It's either you're from California or you're international. There's no in between.
Well, I think you had more of the mix as I went just, and I literally just did top five. I'm like, let's see what Texas and Hawaii are doing. And you got Guam, Brazil, Norway, Australia times two, and Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
So Yulia Tella. Only
Mm-hmm.
reason why I followed her is because her brother is an awesome stud setter, All-American Player of the Year. Jakob, you know my Venmo. But I was like, it's just cool seeing how I'm surprised she didn't play indoor as talented as Jakob was, but I mean, she's talented in her own right on the beach. And I saw a funny text during the like right after the last Olympics about some guys. Oh, beach volleyball. Oh, next thing it's an Olympic sport, right? And they're like, yeah, next thing you're gonna tell me Norway's got beach volleyball and they're gonna win the gold medal. And sure enough,
Here she is.
the men won. Anders and Mole won the gold medal. So and they're from Norway's. Um, but yeah, so working with the internationals, are you seeing is it a different in style and training? Like what is their mentality and attitude towards training in the US? Is it very similar to what you were all raised in doing in juniors and through your clubs and through even just collegiately?
I personally think that it was very different for them, at least from my understanding. I think their training of how they trained, at least like Julia and Yulia, like when they play volleyball, like everybody hits and everybody swings. Like when you come from California, like everybody's so shooty and everybody can hit and also shoot. Like it's such a high level here. And I feel like it took them a very long time to understand that, like, okay, sometimes I need to pull. Okay, sometimes I need to run different block calls. Like I can't just block a one every single time. Um, so I think like that is very different. But I also think that they are way more technical than sometimes we can be. Like Yulia is one of the best technical players I've ever met. And I don't know what they teach in Norway, but I need to go over there and get some of that.
Well, don't they get taken into their federation, get trained on the more national level? Whereas, it just seems like in the States there's so much that
Yeah.
only a select few go into the NTDP program on the
Yes.
beach.
Yeah. No, I'm like pretty sure all of them are kind of representing their where they're from. And like you said, there's only like they do like the whole tournament and then the one pair gets to represent us. So
Hmm.
I think they definitely have advantage when it comes to that. But
How about you, Kylie? Thoughts on the diversity of the internationals in the game?
Yeah, I mean, like from the US, like if you're looking at World Tour stuff, like there's so many teams from the US, but then you also are like scrolling through and it's like you're seeing names that are familiar from all the different countries, like from Australia, there's Georgia Johnson, who's playing with Taliqua Clancy in the fall from Australia. And then from Italy, you have Reika Orsitoth and
Hmm.
Giada
Yep.
Bianchi.
Yep.
I hope
You got them both
I'm
right.
butchering these names, but from Italy, they're about to play the Elite 16 in Mexico. You've got Melanie Paul from Germany and obviously Tina and like just so many people that have like come to the NCAA that it's like cool to see, but I think also when like us training, like you're training with your club so much, like that's your group, but there's clubs all around the country, like that you're competing
Hmm.
against all the time. And like in those countries, it's like the one club is kind of it for like the
Yeah.
entire country. And so I feel like it's also just like a different focus between like you and your partner, and like that's the focus versus like team sports in the US.
Well, it's interesting. Come to know Tina Rodina pretty well, and I asked her like, what's volleyball like in your country? She's like, well, you have to realize that we're not a very big country, so all the good players are going to be right in Riga where they train. But she's from Yermala, and there's a lot of pride in the fact that she's representing. Like she makes it clear, I'm from Yermala, not Riga. So but there's the talent is very centralized in the country, whereas I think in the United States, because there's so many hotbeds of talent from Texas to San Diego to South Bay to, you know, uh, I know Florida, there's so many, and we're seeing more pockets develop in areas like Missouri, Kentucky, Ohio, and even in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and New York. So, it's pretty crazy seeing where all the talent is coming from. Colorado even is becoming a really good hotbed of talent for beach volleyball. So, sorry if I left out any areas that's picking up. I'm trying my best off the top of my head. So, but the internationals is a great topic because um, they receive the USA training, and this is where I always wonder, I'm like, well, they're getting the US training getting better, and then they come back and face us in the Olympics. Doesn't sound like a good deal for us here, but it makes collegiate beach fun to watch. But in the form of just having ambassadors of the programs, I really enjoy meeting all the athletes from the different countries because it's great to have that diversity and a world view of what's going on. I mean, it's such a great time in college for you guys to be able to interact with so many different people from different areas. So
Would never meet people like from those places if they didn't play for our school. So I think it's a really cool opportunity, and I think it is expanding the sport even more by bringing them to play college volleyball.
yeah,
It's so cool too, like when you go play in those tournaments, like you'll see your friends, like when you're there, you're trying to find like people to practice against. It's like, oh, this is my teammate. I can practice against my teammate. And like it's just fun to see that like I feel like for us, like when you go play those, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like my first time doing that. But for them, like they grew up playing those tournaments. So it's like cool getting to see into like that side too.
yeah. Well, great topic. It'll be interesting to track how these athletes do during the 2025 season and how these programs either develop or how they, end up finishing at the end of the year. Because like, I broke down the top five teams just to get a comparison. And I was sharing with you, Kylie, before you jumped on, but UCLA only has one international that's seen some time. That's Cassie Dodd. She's the Australian. Then LMU has the five that have been seeing some playing time, a Swede, Canadian, Dutch, Finnish person and a Paraguayan Olympian at that. And then USC, ironically, only has one that's been seeing time in the lineup. That's Kalinda Koch, who's a Canadian. And then TCU, I mean, they just went into the Spanish tap and a bunch of athletes fell out onto their roster with a couple Puerto Ricans, Canadians, Ukrainian, and a Latvian. So, and then Stanford, Canadians, and a Cypriot, someone from Cyprus. That would be Daria Gusarova. So, and the only reason why I know that's because the men's side in which I cover, and that's a Sotos Shapanis of Long Beach State, who is also a Cypriot. So, um, but interesting how these teams been, I guess, the team philosophies in recruiting. I'm curious how it's going to fall at the end. Do the teams with the internationals place near the top, or the American teams more localize or national teams uh, finish near the top. So to be determined still, because we know TCU came in number 2 in the preseason, and they've got a couple lot well 3 losses, and we still have a lot of season left. So, um, but anything to add there on the internationals before we move on to Sydney's topic? Good. Well, I like Sydney's topic as well because she wanted to talk about the NCAA National Collegiate Beach Championship that was going to be in Huntington Beach. Totally bummed about this. But because of the fires in the area, it got relocated to Gulf Shores, Alabama, which is a great site. I'm it's not taking anything away from them, but let's go and talk about that, Cindy. And what did you want to bring up on that?
First off, I personally was so excited when it got moved back to Bama. I was so sad when they took it away. I was like, no, this is heartbreaking. Because I feel like I'm always in Huntington, I'm always in Manhattan. We never get to go to Bama. So I think it's so fun. But wherever it is, it's amazing and it would be very cool. But anyways, I just think the layout is super interesting. I think like it's very dependent on how the tournament goes because I think in those tournaments you see a lot of upsets because I feel like everybody's kind of peaking at the same time towards the end of the season. So with
Mhm.
it being single a limb, like very good teams that could potentially win the whole thing get out very early because they get upset. So I
Yep.
just think I'm curious to see how they're going to do this year, if they're going to keep it the same or if they're changing it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I personally love the double elimination format.
Yeah, me
High
too.
drama. I
Yeah, it
mean,
is high drama.
but they show the stats. No one's come back from the losers bracket to win the whole thing. I'm like, oh.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But you know what I
Sick.
noticed this year, and I don't know if you guys have any insight to this. This is kind of just as I was doing my preparation. There's no play-in match this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't
This
think
is
personally the playing match ever should have been a thing.
oh wow, look at that. Okay.
Actually, I kind of agree with you. It's crazy that they fly all the way there, and then if you lose, you just don't get to be in the tournament.
It's like when you're doing the NCAA men's basketball bracket, you pick the 65 versus 64, and then that team ends up getting beaten by like Duke or someone.
Yeah, no, it's horrible.
I mean, I know like I'd spoken to some other coaches about the change to the single elimination format. Um, and you know, my sense is they would love for it to go to the double elimination, but the athletes just couldn't handle the wear and tear on your bodies during that with how the amount of matches you'd have to play in a short amount of time.
That makes
I mean, I
sense.
do agree with that. I think a lot of people, because the matches are so high intensity, that I think you're right. There is a lot of wear and tear on our bodies, but I think all the athletes work so hard to get there that I don't know. I personally would be okay playing some more games, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
How about you, Kylie? Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, like towards the end of the season, it's like you already just finished conference. That was double limb, and then you're going into that too. Like it is a lot, but it's also like what you're working the entire season for. So it's like, I don't know.
It's like there's a side make. Come on, the regular season's only 9 weeks long. You guys can push through the
No,
championship
one
week.
more day. Come on.
um, so the national championship goes back to Huntington Beach. It's supposed to be a 2-year stint for 2026, and then for 5 years after that, back to Gulf Shores. I know Sydney is happy about, but it is
I won't be
literally
here. I'll
less
be
than a mile from my
gone.
house. So,
Okay, fair. You'll get it my senior year. I'll be at Huntington Beach, and then you'll be back to Bama.
all right. Um, this week are some upcoming matches. Great topics, by the way, ladies, and I'm looking forward to how everything shapes out. Well, both because the internationals is a big topic, even in the men's indoor game. We're talking about that. So, seeing a bunch of faces come into the NCAA that are really good talents. Danny Tanya, hello, Tina Gradina, um, and of course Juliana Pillay Corrales as well. But also in the national championships, we're seeing changes. And we're hoping there's tournament expansion is what we're hoping for in the long run. But I'm not privy to those conversations that the coaches on that board. But I mean, realistically, they could go to 32, and I think people would be pretty satisfied at that. But that's a long tournament. That's going to have to go over a week, I think.
Yeah.
So I know unless they go from the 16 to like 24 and do play-ins in the different
I mean,
brackets.
they could also do like a regional where someone will play like 2 games, like the top 8 teams will like host a game or two, and then you go to Gulf Shores after that.
Yeah, you,
Like
you
how
fly
Innova
Hawaii to
is.
Florida State for that regional in the first round.
No,
8 hour
please,
difference.
no. You know what? For what it's worth, I'm a pro flyer. Literally, I got it on a lock, like a veteran at this point.
Yeah, it's because you got Admirals Club and you're sitting first class. We get it, Sydney. That's the way you roll.
I wish, gosh, no, like the back in the middle. Like, come on, you guys. I'm 6'1". Please don't make me sit in the middle.
Well, let's look at some upcoming duels this weekend in tournaments. Uh, Sydney, what are you watching out for? You can say your own or
I'm
promote your own.
I'm gonna say my own. Yep, I'm feeling some upsets this week. I'm feeling
And
it.
what is the name of yours this week? Is
East
it
meets
different
West, yeah.
names?
I
What's that?
think. I think it's East meets West, is it not?
That is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Don't hold me to that.
No, it is East versus what? No, East meets
Oh,
West because next weekend at Texas is
Next
East
weekend is
versus West.
East versus
oh,
West.
I see.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
don't make that any more confusing than it has to be. So representing the East, which I think is funny, Texas,
Woo,
We're not
LSU,
the
Florida
East.
State, FIU, and LSU. Oh, I did LSU twice. So yeah, Texas, LSU, FSU, and FIU. And then representing the West, UCLA, LMU, Hawaii, and Cal. That's
Yeah.
gonna be a beatdown. And that's hopefully it gets sunny for Saturday, but we have rain forecasts here on Friday, and it's been pretty cool. So sorry, ladies.
Hopefully I'll bring the sun. I got the
Yeah, we'll have
park
our
face though.
we'll have our reunion picture over there. You know, um, but there's some other ones that are happening as well. Definitely want to point out the FAU Invitational. USC usually is at East meets West, but they're going or East versus West, whatever we're I'm gonna get it confused now. They're heading the FAU Invitational, which is going to be University of Alabama at Birmingham or UAB. Now 20th ranked Georgia State, SC, and TCU. So want to keep track of that one. Um, Also coming up is I had it on here in my notes, the Cal Poly Invite, UC Davis, San Jose State, Santa Clara, and Grand Canyon. And that's going to be a conference matchup for Washington, who is also in that mix too. So, um, bunch of big tournaments still to watch this upcoming week. But any particular teams you're hoping to catch this weekend at the East versus West, ladies? Maybe you guys get to play each other.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe. Rob, you can live stream it if we play against each other, and you can just come on our court and just mic our
Yeah.
entire.
Yeah, only us.
Only us though, not our partners.
I'm actually, I'm looking forward to seeing LMU because they've been kind of the talk. Have been
Oh,
strong.
yeah.
Oh yeah, because you haven't seen them yet, have you? In like
Nope,
in
not in
live.
person.
No.
Yeah, you guys will be impressed.
Ooh, and of course, seeing Maggie and Sally after this week, they're 15-1, and the UCLA team. Actually, that first duel I'm looking forward to. UCLA versus Texas on Friday at 9 a.m. That is the first
That one should
duel
be
of the day.
interesting.
Former coach Steinmetzger of UCLA,
Oh, I
now
didn't
over
think
at
about that.
Texas,
Oh my gosh, that'll be fun.
and Jenny Johnson Jordan, who was the associate head coach at UCLA, now the head coach. So I wonder if there's gonna be a little extra oomph on both sides in that head-to-head matchup.
I don't know. I think it's interesting because like when you're scouting teams and stuff, it's like, oh, I don't know this player or like that kind of thing, but like he coached every single one of them. Like he knows them
Got that
pretty
inside scoop.
well, so I don't know.
And of course, looking forward to see what Hawaii can do representing the Big West, because that's kind of my home conference as well. I mean, I know I work with Texas, but my home conference is Big West. Sorry, Kylie. Uh, so I got to see what they're doing as well. I got to keep up on all the volleyball. So because the Big West is going to be hotly contested this year, and this would be a big statement for Hawaii if they can get some wins out of this weekend with the teams that are going to be there. Um, Cal Poly's going to be watching really closely too, being that they're hosting their deal too. So.
Oh,
Anything we need to add on, ladies? Anything you'd like to jump on here? No, all good. Well, with that, that concludes episode 3, our week 3 recap, 261 of College Volleyball Weekly, Beach Top 20. That's Kylie Weekly, Texas, Sydney Miller of Hawaii. Appreciate you, ladies. Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.